This is my thoughts on WoW Classic. One thing I will say, though, that Blizzard did a great job shoehorning this old code base into the new platform, new environment. Restoring the old maps, I think it'll spark a little bit of nostalgia, which I think is the big reason people are going to want to play this game. And it's going to be free, so that's good. And then there should be some quality of life additions, like there'll be some initial phasing of zones, and there will be some loot trading will be an option. And Wowhead will be of it. There'll be a Wowhead Classic. Now, I played an Alliance Priest, level 60 on Skull Crusher, and we were the second best guild on Skull Crusher during Blackwood Lair. Kind of fell apart a little bit in AQ 40, and then Nax 40 was pretty much the end of us. The difficulty kind of ramped up there. The one really good thing about Classic is, epic items were epic. I mean, it felt like you earned something, meant something. I mean, when you were standing around Ironforge or wherever, and people were like, "Wow, your gear is awesome." It felt good. PvP was pretty fun. It wasn't really balanced well, but it was fun. World PvP, or instance PvP, I should say, was fun. World PvP, however, was not fun because you could be just minding your own business and like 9 people will come up and just roll you. And one of the bad things that people don't remember, I bet, is that gold was scarce and the world was large. So you had to be hoofing your ass a lot of places. There were a lot less flight paths and a lot less graveyards. And so you could spend up to 10 minutes walking back to your body because you screwed up and overpulled, and someone ran and pulled a bunch of other crap, and you got rolled. Leveling was slow and grindy, and combat mechanics weren't as polished as they are now. And also, the global cooldown is on just about everything. So, I mean, you don't like the global cooldown in retail, you won't like this. And let me just say, I'm not a retail shill. I do not like the way BFA is right now. The endgame looting system is garbage. There's no incentive to do anything else anymore. And other people have said what their issues are way better than I can, but we'll just leave it at that. If this expansion came out in like February or March, I would be unsubscribed. But since it's winter now, sun still sets at 5 p.m., so there's not much to do after that. So anyway, quests don't always flow from hub to hub, and some of the zones are pretty much worthless. Like if you're Alliance, you have no reason to go to a place like Ashara. Right? A lot of quality of life features that some people take for granted are not going to be there. And obviously, LFR, group finder, summoning stones. And if you want to find a group for something specific, you got to spam trade or general to find those groups. And some people view this as a positive thing. It can be a huge pain in the ass. The community aspect is what some people are looking forward to, because I guess you can't be a dick. People know who you are, but now in retail, you can be a relatively anonymous dick to just about anybody, whatever you want. There were also keys. I mean, you couldn't do Strath or Scalo unless you had a key or someone to pick the lock. And loot was free for all, need before greed, round robin, and master loot. And in your groups, it was usually, if it was with your friends, obviously it was free for all. But in some groups, they'd be master loot, especially Pug, and sometimes ninja looting happened, and it was pretty bad. Especially there were certain items that were dropped in, I want to say, Blackrock Depths. One of them was the Hand of Justice, and I know all our melee wanted that, but I seen it get ninja looted more than once. And then sometimes items would be reserved when you're looking for groups. So, I mean, if you're in melee and you're looking for BRD, if the guy's reserving the item, no melee is going to want to go with him. So, one pro of the community is if you were a known ninja looter or just a general asshole, people knew who you were, and they knew not to group with you. So another thing that's concerning is that, in 2004 and 5, I mean, everything was new. Now, nothing is new. I mean, everyone knows what to do, what the progression path is, how to gear, what's overpowered, what's not. Another issue with the classic game is going to be the class selection. Now, I know that all those talent trees are the original ones, and it seems like you have a lot of options, but you really don't. There's about 8 viable class and specs that we would take on raids, and those would be Combat or Assassination Rogues, Marksman Hunter, Frost Mage, Holy Pally, Holy Priest, Resto Druid, and I want to say it's Destro Lock. Didn't really like our Warlocks because they were kind of really rude, but I know why. Tanks were almost always Warriors, and because I honestly I've never saw a Paladin tank or a Druid tank. Some people claim that Druids are okay, but I've never seen one in vanilla anyway. And there were some pretty laughable specs like Shadow Priest, Ret Paladins, Balanced Druids, Survival Hunters. And, respecking was possible. I leveled a Shadow and rated as Deep Holy, but it got incrementally more expensive, and it kind of prohibited people from being casual and just, hey, let's jack around with this spec. Because, again, it's pretty cookie cutter. And raids were, racials were seriously imbalanced. Rogues, dwarf priests made PvE content really easy, like Nefarian, Onyxia, other bosses with fear mechanics. I think there were one in AQ 40. And then remember that you had to carry reagents too. So I was a priest, I had to carry candles, and your buffs, priest buffs, druid buffs, were group only. So if you had 8 groups of 5, you had to cast a buff 8 times. Paladin symbols, I believe their blessings only last 5 minutes, and I believe they were class based. So every pull it was, warriors need kings, druids need wisdom. I don't remember what they were, but then mages had to conjure a ton of water, and then because I think they could only conjure 2 at a time, and then physically hand it out in trade to people. So there were some 10-man dungeons. Those were all right, but the top tier raids were 40 men, and there were 2 20-man raids, AQ 20, ZG. Attunements also were a thing. You couldn't just walk into Blackwing Lair like I did here. You had to do the Blackwing Lair quest was easy, but the Onyxia one was just kind of a pain in the ass. Molten Core wasn't that bad, but still, you had to do it. You couldn't just expect to log in and get carried to Molten Core when you hit 60 and you're rocking the greens. And if you wanted to be in the high-end raiding guild, you needed to spend a lot of time farming either gold or bats, and you needed to bust out the flasks. You needed to have the best enchants. You needed to have potions, because there was no potion cooldown limit. I mean, you could pop a potion every 2 minutes or whatever the time was. Resist gear. A lot of people forget that resist gear was a thing. So if you're doing Molten Core past, I want to say, Baron Geddon, you needed your fire resist gear, and then everyone in your raid needs an Onyxia scale cloak if they want to do Blackwing Lair. Have fun with that. AQ 40 needed nature resist, and if you were going to go deep into Nax, you needed frost resist, but a lot of people aren't going to go see that. The mechanics are really kind of simple, kind of straightforward too. There were very little enrage timers. Just kind of soft enrage timers. Valistraz and Patchwork were both ones that actually did kind of were DPS checks, but solid strats, you could get down most of the bosses. So first 2 raids you could bring some hard carries, or do it even with less than 40 people, but by the time you got into the latter half of AQ 40, and even in Nax, the difficulty started getting really, really hard. And people forget how large AQ was, and you couldn't mount in there unless you had a specific AQ 40 mount. Not everyone had one of those, so if you died to Huron, you were walking your ass all the way back to her. So Yeah, that's Nax 40 will be the crown jewel of the expansion or of WoW Classic, and there'll probably be a race to beat Kel'Thuzad for the first time, and by the really high end guilds. And others may complete it, but after that, then what? I mean, you're not going to farm Nax 40 unless you're just a special kind of masochist. So, I mean, I got a feeling that the WoW Classic is going to break down into a split of the haves and the have-nots. And I mean, people forget it's a pain to manage 40 people and keep 40 people happy, getting gear so that you can do the next tier. So, and then keeping people focused on doing whatever tier you're working on. So a lot of people are going to do Molten Core a couple times, and then they're not going to want to do it anymore, even though they're still busting out their blues, what have you. Just the natural tendency of people wanting to, do the next tier of content as fast as possible. And I mean, I don't know how well that's going to work, because I mean, if they keep the difficulties the same, you're going to need to run through the gearing process to get all your people, especially your tanks and healers, the best gear they can get. So, I mean, trying to find that happy balance for 40 people, 40 to 50 people even, it seems like it's going to be a daunting task, and one that I wouldn't want to do it. So, I mean, if the goal of anyone playing the game is just, hey, let's level up to 60, do a couple instances, then hey, that's good. But I mean, to me, I think leveling is a pain in the ass, and in all the games I've played, EverQuest, Text Muds, leveling is just annoying, and the end game is the game. But if people enjoy leveling and seeing all the old content the way it was, then I guess that'll be the target for WoW Classic. But I mean, I had the most fun in WoW raiding with my vanilla WoW guild, and I just don't see WoW Classic recreating that experience. So your mileage will vary. Thanks for listening.